In 1513, an Ottoman admiral sat down in Constantinople and drew a map of the world. That alone is not remarkable. Maps were being made all over the known world. But this map was different. This map showed something no human being should have been able to see. It showed Antarctica, not a vague smear of ice at the bottom of the page. A detailed, accurate coastline, bays, peninsulas, inlets, all correctly placed, all correctly shaped. The problem? Antarctica wasn't officially discovered until 1820. The admiral drew his map 307 years earlier. His name was Piri Reis, and what he left behind is one of the most quietly devastating challenges to the story we tell about human history. Let's talk about what the Piri Reis map actually shows, because the full picture is stranger than the headline. The map was drawn in 1513 on gazelle skin parchment. Piri Reis himself wrote annotations in the margins, explaining where his information came from. He didn't claim to have explored these coastlines himself. He said he compiled the map from older sources, ancient sources, charts he described as dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. And among those sources, he mentioned maps used by Christopher Columbus. Columbus died in 1506. 7 years later, an Ottoman admiral had access to his private charts. But the Columbus maps don't explain Antarctica. Columbus never went anywhere near it. Nobody did. Not officially, not on record. In 1960, a U.S. Navy cartographer named Captain Lorenzo Burroughs examined the map and concluded something remarkable. The Antarctic coastline on the Piri Reis map doesn't correspond to the Antarctica we see today, covered under 2 miles of ice. It corresponds to the Antarctica that exists beneath that ice. The subglacial topography, the land as it was before the ice formed. The last time Antarctica looked like that was approximately 6,000 years ago. Some geologists push that date back even further, to 12,000 years before present at the end of the last ice age. So whoever drew the original map that Piri Reis copied from, they were surveying a continent that no civilization in recorded history was supposed to have reached, at a time when no civilization in recorded history was supposed to have the navigational technology to do so. This is where the mystery deepens. Piri Reis didn't just mention Columbus as a source. He listed multiple older maps, charts he described as coming from the time of Alexander the Great. Maps that had been compiled, copied, and passed down through generations of navigators, whose names we no longer know. In 1965, a map historian named Charles Hapgood published a landmark analysis of the Piri Reis map. Hapgood was a professor at Keene State College in New Hampshire, not a fringe figure. His work was serious enough that Albert Einstein wrote him a letter of support before Hapgood published his findings. Hapgood's conclusion was this: the Piri Reis map appears to have been drawn using a level of cartographic precision that requires accurate longitude measurement. And accurate longitude measurement in the ancient world was considered impossible. For centuries, navigators could determine their latitude, how far north or south they were, by observing the stars. But longitude, how far east or west, required knowing the precise time at 2 different locations simultaneously. That required accurate, portable clocks. And those weren't invented until 1762. The Piri Reis map gets the longitude of South America correct, to within half a degree. That's not luck. That's not estimation. That's measurement. So who had the clocks? Who had the ships? Who was sailing the Southern Ocean? Thousands of years before we thought anyone could. Let me give you something concrete to hold on to. When modern researchers overlaid the Piri Reis map onto a modern globe using computer analysis, they found something unexpected. The map's projection center appears to be located in Egypt, specifically in the region of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria, the greatest repository of ancient knowledge in the ancient world. Destroyed, partially or completely, scholars still debate this, sometime between 48 BC and 642 AD. What was lost in that library? We don't know, we can't know, because it's gone. But we do know what it contained before it burned. Texts from every civilization that had ever traded with Egypt. Navigational charts, astronomical records, mathematical treatises. Knowledge accumulated over thousands of years by cultures whose names we may never recover. Is it possible that among those lost texts were maps? Maps drawn by sailors who had reached Antarctica before the ice closed in. Maps that were copied and recopied through generations of scholars, passed from Alexandria to Byzantium to Constantinople, where in 1513 an Ottoman admiral sat down and compiled them one last time. We cannot prove it, but we cannot disprove it either. And that uncertainty, that open door, is exactly what makes the Piri Reis map so difficult to dismiss. I want to be honest with you, because this is where serious historians push back. The mainstream academic response to the Piri Reis map is nuanced. Most scholars don't dispute that the map exists or that it's remarkable. What they dispute is the interpretation. The supposed Antarctic coastline, skeptics argue, may not be Antarctica at all. It may be a misshapen representation of the South American coastline, Patagonia or Tierra del Fuego, distorted by the limitations of 16th century cartography. Medieval maps routinely contained errors, invented landmasses, and misplaced coastlines. The Piri Reis map has known errors too. As for Hapgood's analysis, while Einstein's letter of support is real, Einstein wrote it before seeing the completed work, and Hapgood's methodology has been criticized by professional cartographers. The precision he identified, they argue, may be a product of selective comparison rather than genuine accuracy. These are legitimate critiques. Science requires rigor, not romance. But here's what I find interesting. Even the skeptical position has to account for the fact that the map exists, that it is unusually accurate for its time, that Piri Reis himself referenced sources we no longer have, and that the question of those sources, those older maps, those unknown charts, has never been satisfactorily answered. The Piri Reis map doesn't stand alone. In 1531, a cartographer named Orontius Phineus drew a world map that also shows Antarctica, with mountain ranges, river valleys, and a coastline that matches the subglacial topography revealed by 20th century seismic surveys. In 1559, a Turkish admiral named Haji Ahmed published a world map showing the Bering Strait land bridge between Asia and North America. The land bridge that geologists say disappeared beneath the sea approximately 10,000 years ago. In 1737, Philippe Boitier drew a map of Antarctica that showed it divided into two land masses by a channel. That channel wasn't confirmed by seismic survey until 1958. One anomalous map might be a mistake. Two might be coincidence. Four begins to look like a pattern. What if there was a civilization or a network of civilizations that existed before the last ice age? Not technologically advanced in the way we imagine, but advanced in the ways that matter most at sea: mathematics, astronomy, navigation. What if they sailed the world, all of it, including the Southern Ocean, and recorded what they found? And what if those records were compiled, preserved, and passed forward through Alexandria, through Byzantium, through Constantinople, until they ended up in the hands of an Ottoman admiral who didn't fully understand what he was copying? We are still reading the map. We just haven't figured out who drew the original. The stone doesn't give up its secrets easily, but it does give them up. If there's a mystery you want us to investigate, drop it in the comments below. Subscribe to the Lithic Code. The next code is already waiting.